It's 2002. I'm 23 years old, and it's my first time in New York. I'm here because of an exchange program, and before I can go into my exchange program, I need to go for orientation at Wagner College. And a few things I remember here at Wagner College is they taught us that one, you have to look the American in the eye. Two, you can engage in small talk, and it was actually encouraged. Three is that you have to be on time. Now, this point was really, really emphasized. So, during my orientation, when a stranger approached me and asked, "Are you new?" I turned and I answered that I was. And from there, we had a conversation for about 15 minutes. And after, she gave me a phone number. She said I would call her if I ever needed anything. I said I would. But after that, I really didn't think much about our offer because in a couple of days, I left Wagner to go upstate New York to work at a summer camp for people with disabilities. And there, it was great experiences for the whole summer. Well, until I had a dilemma. At the end of the summer, I needed to make a choice of either going back immediately to Zambia or experience America for about 3 months as allowed under the program. So I remembered that offer and I called her. And she picked up the phone and I told her about my dilemma. And then she said, "It's okay, you can come to New York and I'll find you somewhere to stay." She gave me her address and I was gonna see her on a Friday, 5 p.m. Now, a few days after, I actually had a problem. I learned that the free buses from the camp to New York were gonna leave on a Wednesday. I thought of calling her, but I really didn't wanna call her because I remembered that the appointment was 5 p.m. and they really had to emphasize at orientation that you have to be on time. So I figured I'll find something else to do when I get to New York for those days. And come Wednesday, I left on the free bus because going on a Friday to me, I couldn't have done it. I didn't know where I was going. I had very little money. And going that Wednesday was just my best choice. So I arrived in Manhattan and we amazed by people and the crowds and the cars and the buildings and the billboards. And with the buildings and the billboards, if you have to really check them out, you have to be looking up. So I was doing that. Now, if you're walking and looking up, sooner or later, there's gonna be a disaster. So I kept on bumping into people. I would keep on walking when everybody else has stopped. It was bad. And by nightfall, I knew I wasn't gonna get a hotel. I had little money on me, but I had a plan. See, I'd seen an internet cafe that advertised that from midnight to 6 in the morning, you pay $1 per hour. So I was gonna pay $6, stay there from midnight to 6 in the morning. I could surf the web, but hopefully I could catch a nap too. But by now, it's not yet midnight. So I'm still walking and I'm hungry and I'm tired and I had to buy a hot dog and a soda. So next to the vendor, there was this 3-foot wall that I sat on. And when I sat there eating my hot dog and soda, I was wondering where everybody else was going. And eventually I put my bag down and lay my head there just to rest a little bit, and then I fell asleep. And as the sounds of people and cars increased, I woke up and it was morning. First I checked myself to make sure I was okay. Then I checked to see where my bags were. And my bag was there, and my suitcase was there. And then as I doing that, I look up on the side and it says Central Park. Now, who sleeps in Central Park, you may ask? I'll tell you, it's a guy who doesn't know he's sleeping in Central Park. But two, it's that I did not know how dangerous Central Park was at the time. So quickly, I gathered my bags and I planned to go to Staten Island for the day and so that I can find this woman's address before I could get there Friday. I really didn't want to get lost that Friday. Now, I got to Staten Island and I started looking for her address and I kept on getting lost I would double down on the buses, take the same bus twice, three times, and the bus drivers eventually stopped charging me. And by nightfall, I still hadn't found her address. And I asked the bus driver if they can drop me off at the nearest YMCA because I remembered at camp that the YMCA had hostels that they didn't charge much money. So that was my plan. And when they dropped me off near the YMCA, and I saw the YMCA sign, I was really, really hopeful. Finally, something that I had planned is coming to fruition. But when I got near, it was dark, and then I realized it was under construction. At this point, I sat near the edges in the bushes, and I was frustrated. I started questioning my decision of staying in the United States. I could have been in Zambia by now, but I decided to stay. I was frustrated at myself. I was angry. And before I knew it, I fell asleep. Now, the next morning, I was woken up by a loud noise, and I gathered my bags and decided to leave. At that point, I scared the construction workers, but I didn't look backwards. I just wanted to get away. And I promised myself, I will find this woman's address on foot. I'm not taking the bus this time. So I did. Ironically, even with 2 days head time, I only found her address a few minutes before 5 p.m. I guess you'd say that I was in time after all. So, 5 o'clock exactly, I knocked on the door with great expectation, but when a man opens the door, I stepped back. I was thinking, not again, Muyani, not again, you know? And then I introduced myself with an apology. But the man said, welcome, we've been waiting for you. Please come on in. And without thinking, I stepped into the house. And you might be asking me, who just goes into a stranger's house? I'll tell you, it's a guy who slept outside for 2 days, okay? But also, it's from the values that my parents had taught me. Growing up in Zambia, we had strangers in my house all the time, people we barely knew, okay? So for me, this was not strange. Once in the house, the man leaves to go to another room and comes back with the strange woman I'd met at Wagner College months ago. And she introduces him as the husband, and they look genuinely happy to see me. Before long, a young man about my age comes over, and she introduces him as the cousin and the person I'll be staying with. Now, after that, we had dinner, but frankly, I wasn't paying attention to the conversation. My mind was really focused on the food that was presented in front of me. It's been 20 years since that cultural orientation at Wagner College and subsequent summer upstate New York. If I hadn't worked with folks with special needs, I wouldn't have a job that I'm doing now at the Guild as a program manager. And I also won't forget that weekend in New York. Yes, it was important to learn the cultural lessons and respect the norms, but it's also important to learn that those norms should not be taken into extreme. Yes, Americans like to look in the eye. Yes, Americans like to do small talk. And yes, Americans generally want to be on time, but not if it's going to put you at risk. I could have called her, but I wanted to be on time.